It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Caligiero, and it's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, hope you're doing all right. We've got a busy show. We have a busy show scheduled for you today. We got, but before I tell you what's coming up, let me tell you this first. The show's being brought to you in part by Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service. If you're looking for a limo, any someplace in the U.S. or even Canada, give my girl Cat a call, 202-351-7496. That's 202-351-7496. Tell her Billy C sent you. But remember, she's my girl. The show is also being brought to you in part by Camp and Aaron Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That is Camp and Aaron Tomkovich, 845-221-4099. Let Camp and Aaron Tomkovich knock out your legal problem, 845-221-4099. The show's also being brought to you in part by my friends down at the Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9, South Glens Falls. Check it out if you like cool people to hang out with. Drink specials all the time, live entertainment on Friday and Saturday nights, and fantastic food. Call ahead for a reservation, 518-792-4869, or just swing by, man. 518-792-4869, Halftime Bar and Grill. And the show is also being brought to you in part by Ringside.com. That's right, all your boxing equipment needs should be obtained from Ringside.com. Mention Billy C. Demand a Billy C. discount at Ringside.com. They got all kinds of specials going on, especially now at the end of the year. And for all you trainers or gym owners or anyone who buys boxing equipment in bulk, make sure you drop me an email, Billy at TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. And I'll even get you a bigger and better discount at Ringside.com. That's right. Busy show scheduled for today. Scheduled to join us is Alex Papali. We're going to be doing our blast from the past. Young Corbett 3. It's who we're going to be talking about. An old fighter from the early, it's early, man. It's early in the early 1900s. And then some. You know, when you say early 1900s, you mean like 1905. You know, this guy was around in the late 20s, early 30s. So we'll be talking about him. But another interesting fact about young Corbett is that if you happen to go to BoxRec and you punch up young Corbett, like 9,000 young Corbett's came up, you know. So I put Alex to work, you know. I said, Papali, you know. I said, why don't you find out why there's so many guys named Young Corbett, man? Because I certainly don't know. So we'll see if Alex passed his homework. See what goes on there. Also scheduled to join us possibly later is Joe Santoliquido. He's been dealing with some personal issues, so we're not going to push that. So if he's around, he's around. If he's not, he's not. I got some emails I want to read. We got a report on Juan Manuel Marquez. They did test him for whatever they test for at the end of fights in Nevada, but they did not. And I repeat, they did not do Olympic-style drug testing for this fight. So, therefore, whatever the state of Nevada tests for as their normal protocol is all he's going to be tested for. And a lot of news, a lot of stories. There was some stuff published in the New York City papers about the speculation surrounding Juan Manuel Marquez and all this stuff. you know what? Why I don't understand why people just can't. Listen, he hit him with the perfect shot. You know, I mean, Juan Manuel Marquez hit him with the perfect shot. You know, Manny was going in. He was off balance. Juan Manuel Marquez nailed him on the way in. Lights out. Fight over. Credit where credit's due. Manny's giving him the credit where credit's due. You know, it just seems like the Manny fans are they don't want to accept it. And the other part of the coin, the other side of the coin, is that the naysayers want to taint it. You know, all I can say is this: you know, if something's going to come out about, you know, using performance enhancing drugs or whatever, it will. You know, and then you address it. Then you can make your comments on it. Now, the speculation and the assumptions that he listen, I'll be the first to admit he looked huge. He looked unstoppable. He looked, you know, all those things. But that doesn't mean that he did it. You know, listen, I'm a firm believer of you're innocent until proven guilty. End of story. There's been nobody said that you know, he's been doing it. No one said that they heard about it. No one said that you know, he had taken a test previously and had failed. I mean, there's no proof. There's nothing. You know, with the exception of how good he looked. You know, so right away at 39 years old, people start saying, well, you know, he's got to look good. You know, because, you know, when they look in the mirror and they're 39, they're like, you know, I got, you know, do I have to use my line? Do I have to use my line? I have more rolls than a local deli. I mean, a local bakery. You know, but anyway, my point is that listen, if they're going to taint it, you know, they better have some data and some facts before. Right now, to me, I look at it as a perfect punch. Perfect punch. He gets all the credit where credit's due. End of story. As a matter of fact, we put our rankings. The rankings just got finished. They did not get posted yet. They will get posted today. But I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you where we have them. I happen to have the rankings right here, and the way I put it, the way we have it set, and the way I printed it up was in the welterweight division. Juan Manuel Marquez. We believe with our panel. We believe in the guy who beat the guy, and the way it's listed right now in the welterweight division of our rankings, we have Timothy Bradley number 1. And we have Juan Manuel Marquez, number 2. That's right. And Manny Pacquiao moved to number 3. End of story. You know, I mean, that's the way it is. The guy who beat the guy, Juan Manuel Marquez, beat that guy. Now, yes, Juan Manuel Marquez was also rated in the junior welterweight division, but not anymore because his last fight was in the welterweight division. That's how we work. If he takes another fight, you know, he's getting challenged by this guy and that guy and the other guy. You know, if he takes another fight and it's at a lower weight division, we'll rank him accordingly. And by the way, something that I normally don't like to do, but I felt it was justified this week. Number one, the pound-for-pound rankings, there's been a lot of discrepancy about pound-for-pound rankings and you know, how you get ranked there and all that stuff, right? You know, in my opinion, the pound-for-pound rankings are not based on the guy who beat the guy. In other words, if you have a guy that comes in and he's ranked in the pound-for-pound rankings, and he loses to some guy that wasn't. To me, that guy that won doesn't automatically go in the pound-for-pound rankings. He would in the normal rankings, but not pound-for-pound. However, in lieu of this particular fight, I flip-flopped him, man. I feel that that Juan Manuel Marquez took Manny's spot in the pound-for-pound rankings, and they flip-flop. So the way our pound-for-pound rankings read right now, and I know people disagreed with me, but I base it on activity. Obviously, the first thing, you know, how they would perform in other weight classes with the same set of, you know, attributes that they have. You know, and based on activity and level of opposition and the opposition's level of opposition, our pound-for-pound rankings, we got Andre Ward, number 1. We got Sergio Martinez, number 2. Floyd is at number 3. And now we got Juan Manuel Marquez at number 4. Manny drops to number 5. I mean, listen, everybody that loves Manny Pacquiao, you could argue all you want, but facts are facts are facts, man. I mean, you know, listen, he was a long-time number 1 pound-for-pound, but as a fighter gets older, as his skills erode, you know, and you got other guys coming up, and look at Juan Manuel Marquez. How could you not move Juan Manuel Marquez above Manny Pacquiao in pound-for-pound rankings. I mean, you just, I'm sorry. In my opinion, you have to. But we'll have those posted later on today. As far as what's going on right now, I got to take a break. And when I come back, I got some emails to read, and I'm cringing at what I might find. If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Roselli Enterprises. Roselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all. Dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flow boys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Roselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RoselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the ideal computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IBO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at iboboxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you. I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching a replay on LDL TV. Glad you could join us. Check it out. Speaking of LDL TV, they finally put a response to all my groveling over that gorgeous, my girl, my dream girl, Dawn. So check it out. It's up on the LDL TV. Actually, I'm going to put some links up on the BillyCBoxing.com website so you can check out her little shout-outs to me. So that was pretty fun for me anyway. But anyway, here we go. Given Quality. Email. Given Quality says, YouTube terminated. He's talking about his account. Yesterday he had an email about, I used to post this, but the account got terminated. I thought he meant we, canceled deleted his account because we didn't like the comments. We don't do that. Whether you like the show, whether you like my opinion or whoever else's that's part of this group, we respect your thoughts. I mean, listen, boxing is subjective. End of story. Like I could look, like we go through the same thing, like with this guy. There's no way that I'm ever going to agree with his outlook on who. I'm never going to agree with it, and he's never going to agree with me, obviously, but it's not that I don't respect his feeling. I just think he's over the top. Let's see what he's got to say today. He says, it was YouTube, it wasn't me, it wasn't your guys. I said exposed and stand by it. Okay, listen, he says that he's responding to an email that he wrote yesterday saying that he felt that Manny Pacquiao was exposed on Saturday night when he was knocked out, that his whole career was basically a farce and made up with the media and blah, blah, blah. And Saturday night, we got it. He was exposed. Okay, good. Yeah, listen, is that what you think? That's fine. I don't think that. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I'm not going to keep beating this dead horse. So let's see what else he's got to say. 8 years it took him to do. Yeah, listen, man, you see, the part that Given Quality doesn't understand, and I thought he would, but I don't know how far back he goes in terms of, what his boxing, where he looks at in terms of boxing. But if you go through the history of time, and I got my man Alex Papali coming on later, I'm sure he can back this up. But if you look at these great series that other fighters had, these 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 fight series, 20 fights, some of these guys fought each other. It's not like they did it over a month. They didn't do it over a year. There's a lot of things politically involved in the sport today. So I'm not, listen, took 8 years to do it. Yeah, so what? You know what? That's called good promoting, man. It still sold. Still did well, didn't it? Still sold out the arena. They're talking about a 5th. So I guess there's some interest besides. I personally didn't even think that they should have the 4th fight. And I certainly don't think that they should have a 5th, but hey, what does it matter? That's just my opinion. Apparently, 1 million people felt that they loved it. There was a, 15,000 live gate. They're projecting at least 1 million in pay-per-views. So, come on. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you. The rematch is in the first or second fight. His bottom line here is that he feels that Manny Pacquiao hasn't really improved. If you go back and look at the Juan Manuel Marquez fights that he fought with Juan Manuel Marquez, that Juan has improved, but Manny hasn't. Okay, that's cool. Listen, the argument that everybody gets in with this Pacquiao and who. It always boils down to who's better. The who guy, the who fans are like, oh, our guy's better. Fine. If you want to look at it textbook and you want to see, he throws, he's great defensively. He throws a better jab. He's more refined. He's the sweet science guru. Whatever. Fine. You know what? In boxing, and like every other sport, a lot of times the better team, the better fighter doesn't always win all the time. The better technically sound guy doesn't always win. The better football team that should go out there and kick somebody's ass, ends up laying a goose egg and not playing well. And it's the same in boxing. So I don't care that somebody's more technically sound than Bam Bam Rios is not a technically sound fighter, yet I'll pay to see him fight any day. I won't write him off till the final second ticks off the clock. And that is what is exciting. That's what people want to see. I don't care. I don't care about seeing Floyd Mayweather. I want to see his fights. I pay for his fights. Why? Not only is it because of my job, because I want to see him get beat up. I want to see it. But it doesn't matter. From a selling point, I'm still buying it. So he's successful from that end. I'm not buying it because I like him. But he's successful. Just like Manny Pacquiao is successful in selling tickets and having people watch his fights, just like you did, given quality. You hate him, but you still watched his fight because you wanted to see what happened, and you got it. So I don't get it. I don't get it why you keep beating this dead horse. He also showed me a link where Freddie Roach is assumingly saying that he only takes guys at catch weights and when they're drained out, and we want to make them. Listen, man, I watched it. T. Bruce actually sent me the same thing. Listen, if you guys think that is all your proof, that's great, man. I'm not gonna keep beating this dead horse. And the way FYI, the way I saw that video was I saw an edited video. I saw cuts and splices. And I'll tell you another thing I saw. I saw a guy in Freddie Roach saying something that, really no other trainer wouldn't say. He said, yeah, we want him to dry out a little bit. Yeah, they're trying to make his training a little tough for him. So what? Floyd was trying to negotiate the advantages for himself too. Why is it good for one side and not for the other? And this goes for Manny Pacquiao fans too. Why is it good for your guy and not for Floyd? And for Floyd fans, why is it good for him and not for Manny? It's so ridiculous. It is. It is so ridiculous. And you guys are sad. You guys are sad that can't open your eyes and see. Now I admit I don't like Floyd Mayweather. I don't like him. But that doesn't mean I don't enjoy watching him fight. I don't like the man. The man is a scum to me. All right. I don't like him. He's not a good person. That's what I don't like. I've been honest about that, But as far as his boxing ability, I'm not going to take anything away. But I'd be lying if I said I don't root against him. I'd be lying, So I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. You know what I want to say? I want to say this, that you got to give Manny credit for fighting a guy that he could never figure out. End of story. I give Juan Manuel Marquez credit for beating him the way he did. End of story. That's what I give credit for. At the end of his email here, he says, please tell me what top 1 to 3 rated fighters Pacquiao fought in each weight class. Dude, listen, you look at Manny Pacquiao's record. Basically what he's trying to tell me is that Manny Pacquiao never fought anybody, all right? And when you look at his early record, when he won his first title, he was arguably fighting one of the best guys in the flyweight division in 1998. I don't. Some of these other guys I'm not familiar with because they were in such low weight classes, and it was 10 years ago. But when you start to look up from the time he beat Wetha Sakamewing Kang in 2001 for the super bantamweight title, you look at those names from that point on, and they're all pretty recognizable names. So I don't know what to tell you, man. Listen, you're not going to ever open your eyes to that. So, thanks for the email and keep it up, Speaking of T. Bruce, he says, cherry picking with Freddie Roach. Oh, that's the name of the video. So if you want to see it, go look at it, He says, this is where Roach will explain he only fights certain opponents when they're coming off losses, washed up or drained, and he mentions Floyd. He mentions draining Floyd. He did not say that, T. And if you go back and listen to and watch the video that you sent me and the same thing that Given Quality, he didn't say that. He was asked a question about fighting Floyd. They were asked a question about fighting Mosley. They were asked a question about fighting Margarito. And he said if they fought him, we would want him to come down a little weight, make him dry out a little. Yeah, he was trying to find an edge for his fighter. That's it. Every other fighter does it. I just don't get it. I just don't get it, man. I don't get it why it's okay. You guys write off the fact that your boy, wouldn't even get on the scale. For Juan Manuel Marquez, paid him $300,000 just to let him weigh whatever he wants. You don't want to mention that. You don't want to mention that he insists upon having the Olympic drug testing only from the company that him and Golden Boy are paying off and everything else. You don't want to mention that either. So this is all. It's all bull. It's all bull. Let's see what else he's got to say. He says, yeah, I did watch it. He says. Like they didn't make Mosley come down to 140. Listen, here's the thing. When people at this time, when that YouTube video was recorded, at that time, everybody was trying to get in the ring with Manny Pacquiao. So, when he can only fight one fight, 2 fights, 3 fights a year, whatever it is, listen, when they have so many people to choose from, it's up to them. When they say to Oscar De La Hoya and to Shane Mosley and to all the other people that they want to discredit Manny's victories over, and they say, listen, we'll fight you, but you have to come in at this weight. Nobody held a gun to Oscar's head to weigh 147. Nobody held a gun to Margarito to fight at a catch weight or Shane Mosley to catch. Nobody held a gun. They chose to sign the contract. If they didn't want it, they would have did like Mayweather said. No, I don't want to agree to those terms. End of story. Don't make the fight. They would have found somebody else. I don't understand it. I don't understand why people discredit. It still irks the hell out of me today that people still discredit Manny Pacquiao's win over Oscar De La Hoya. And everybody after the fact says, oh, yeah, he looked drained. He looked dead. He was, he shouldn't have done that. But up until the fight, up until the weigh-in, everybody was literally scared for poor Manny Pacquiao's life. All right, I predicted Manny Pacquiao was going to win, but I was virtually alone. No one predicted that he would beat Oscar De La Hoya, and he did. All right, so the guy was in a lot of stuff. His career is obviously on the downswing right now. I appreciate what Manny Pacquiao has brought to this sport of boxing, all as a good guy. as a guy wearing a white cowboy hat, which is good for the sport. He's an ambassador for the sport. Hey, not all good guys are ambassadors for sports. Mike Tyson was an ambassador for the sport, and he was a bad guy. There was a lot of people that didn't like Mike Tyson. Look, you look at the beloved Muhammad Ali today. I got news for you. He sold more tickets back when he was fighting to people that hated him and wanted to see him get his ass kicked than he sold that people supported him. Trust me on it. You know, you don't believe me? Go ask Henry Haskell. He knows. You know, I got to take a break. When I come back, I'll finish getting nauseous over these emails.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretch of that man, I would think.
You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From upstate New York and the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell him Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C, the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. I want to welcome the Fight Now audiences joining us like they do every day, Monday through Friday from 6 to 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you don't have Fight Now on your sports channel lineup, you're missing out on a lot of great sporting events. Well, combat sports events, of course. Call your local television provider and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. Pick up the phone and call these friggin' guys, the ones you pay your bills to, and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. For all information about the channel, you can find it on their website, www.fightnow.com. I'm getting nauseous here with these emails. We have problems with the podcast company. They changed servers. I'm getting bombarded by all the... I pay a premium podcast. Where's my podcast? Yeah. You know what cracks me up about all the crybabies about the premium pod? They pay $15 a year. You got to pull teeth to get these people to try and support this show and pay $15 a year for 10, 12 hours a week of content. You know, and the minute that something's late, you know, I'm getting threatened. You know, oh, I'm going to cancel. I'm going to do that. You know what? Call the podcast company. I didn't move servers. I didn't move the servers. The last 2 days, we haven't been able to upload the podcast, so I apologize for that. But it's not like you can't watch the show. You can get it someplace else. I understand about the podcast. It's a convenience. That's why you paid for it. And I'm sure these clowns over at Podbean are going to get it fixed. But it has nothing to do with me. All I do is do the show and send the podcast version up to it. So I apologize for that. Here we go. Hawk Mustang says, Juan Manu. Listen, I don't mind talking about the fight. I really don't. As a matter of fact, I want to give it as much coverage as we can. It was one of those kinds of fights, man. Anything that will help the sport of boxing, I'm cool with. It's this constant, going back and forth to the same rut. I mean, it's sad. It's sad, man. It's sad. And then who gets to, I'm the one that gets the blame from critics when they say, all you do is you talk about who. Yeah, because I'm trying to give you guys the platform, and what you keep bringing the idiot up. Anyway, Hawk, who's not an idiot, says Juan Manuel Marquez did not take performance enhancing drugs. He just hit puberty in his late 30s. Okay, the thing is this, we're innocent until proven guilty. Damn it, we used to be. And until somebody can put out some proof, same thing with Manny. People want to accuse him, until they can come out with proof, you can't say anything. The other guy, apparently, there is proof, unfortunately, we get these stories that are written and, they end. Thomas Hauser, one of the most respected writers in boxing, puts a 2-part series up on Max Boxing, and I feel it's left us hanging. It's got us all wondering, but if that was his intent, you did a good job, Tommy. But anyway, Hawk Mustang says I think Manny should hire Lance Armstrong and make the rematch. So you really think Hawk doesn't think that Juan Manuel Marquez took PEDs? He says Floyd is rated number 1 pound for pound. No, he's not. Not in my book. He's not rated number. How do you rate a guy number 1 pound for pound when he fights once every 2 years, once every 18 months? Sorry, doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. Not in my book. And you want to know the sickening thing? They're already planting the seed right now for Floyd to fight Saul Alvarez. Think about it. What a safe fight for that idiot. He's gonna brag about fighting a bigger young gun in Saul Alvarez, which is true. Saul Alvarez is 22 years old, 21 years old, whatever. He's a bigger guy. He's in his prime. There's no question about it. But let me tell you something right now. I don't care whether you like Alvarez. I don't care whether you hate him. I don't care whether you don't even know him. I don't care whether you think he's good or not. All right? The bottom line is he will not stand a chance with Floyd Mayweather. That is the safest fight of the 2 fights that are looking at Floyd right now. Floyd Mayweather versus Saul Alvarez, or Floyd Mayweather versus Robert the Ghost Guerrero. The reason why Robert the Ghost Guerrero will be a tougher fight for Floyd is because Robert the Ghost Guerrero is not a one-dimensional fighter. I believe Saul Alvarez is. And I believe that his youth and the fact that he hasn't really been tested as much will be all in Floyd's favor with the mental game. Floyd knows that he can't budge Robert the Ghost Guerrero mentally, and that's already a positive for Robert the Ghost. That's why he's going to pick Alvarez, and it's not going to be an exciting fight. It's going to be a typical old-style Floyd picking apart Alvarez, and it's going to go to a decision, and he's going to be pounding his chest. He's the greatest. And if you don't think that that's a calculated risk fight, I don't know what else to say. Hawk goes on to say, well, he started to say Floyd's number 1, and that started my whole thing. But he's not. He says, but I think that this barely unknown Trout, who just beat Cotto better than Floyd did, I also doubt Floyd would even fight Trout. Of course he won't. He won't fight Trout. He'll never fight a guy that there's an unknown. The reason why he goes for the fighters he chooses is because he sees the advantage. And listen, just like these guys, now I'm going to stick up for T. Bruce and give him quality, just like they are trying to prove to me that Freddie Roach was trying to look for the edge for Manny. This is true. They do. They all do. But don't pound your chest saying that you're the best. And when you're looking for the edge, so I don't know. All I know is that Manny hasn't backed out, but he hasn't backed away from anybody. T. Bruce is saying, he didn't want to fight Mosley, he didn't want to fight Margarito, but he did. He fought them all. He fought them all. So I don't know. He says, I doubt Floyd would even fight him, right? So why is Floyd pound for pound number 1? He's not in my book. I only recognize our rankings now, Hawk. So he's not. He's go check him out, www.billycboxing.com. and Trout is not in the pound-for-pound list, dude, here's the thing. The pound-for-pound list does not get based on one performance. It's a collection of work. Floyd will be in. If Floyd loses his next 3 fights, he'll still be pound-for-pound fighter. Still be a pound-for-pound fighter. You know, it has nothing to do with your last performance. One performance doesn't get you in to pound-for-pound rankings. Now, we did move Robert De Ghost Guerrero in to the pound-for-pound tied in the 10th spot because if you look at Robert De Ghost Guerrero, he's been successful at multiple weight classes, so that has to carry some juice to it, and he's down at number 10. So one fight doesn't get you in pound-for-pound. And Robert De Ghost Guerrero's last fight did not, over Berto, did not get him into the pound-for-pound. So, can you duck? He wants to know, can you duck Austin Trout and still be number 1? I hate the pound-for-pound ranking. Pound-for-pound rankings are really just a conversation piece, really. And, listen, no, I agree with you, Hawk. The thing is this, and I don't mean to make an excuse for Floyd, but Floyd is a different animal when you start talking about who's the best in the division and stuff like that, because his days are numbered. We all know that. He's looking for an exclamation on his career, and he's going to try to find opponents that will give him that exclamation. All right, the discussion that we have about him cherry picking and everything else should not, in my opinion, pertain to the fights that he's going to be picking now, because I would expect a guy that's at the end of his career, like Floyd Mayweather, to carefully pick his opponents. Now, I'm talking about now. The knock I have on Floyd is the last 6-7 years. Those are the years that I wanted to see. The years that he was in his prime were the years that I wanted to see him fighting the best, and he was still cherry picking. So it's kind of a gray area. Like if I'm working with Floyd, I'm thinking the same thing, and that's why he's going to pick Alvarez. He'll never pick Austin Trout, but the guys like Alvarez should be fighting Trout. Alvarez should be fighting Trout. What happened to K9 Bundrich? Golden Boy signed K9. I thought it was an indication that he was going to be stepping in with Saul Alvarez, but I think he signed I think he signed K9 Bundrich just so Alvarez wouldn't have to fight him. Maybe keep him hanging around, let him get a little older. I don't know. Maybe you'll see K9 and Austin Trout fight. Maybe you see Mayweather and Alvarez fight. And, who knows? Maybe the winner gets Alvarez either way, whether he wins or loses, because that's probably what will happen. He says, these are just hype ratings. You're right. He says, we can bring in, who can bring in the most money ratings. You're right. It's like wearing a T-shirt. It's like watching a wet T-shirt contest and see who gets the most applause. Exactly. It's a good analogy. Great email. I agree with you, Hawk. Biggerback says, if we learned anything from Marquez's legendary career, it's that you can be a master boxer and still be in many Fight of the Year candidates, because he never, ever clinches. If you look at his best fights with Pacquiao, Casillas, Barrera, Juan Baby Bull Diaz, and Casamayor, he never clinches, even when he's hurt. Nowadays, over-clinching is considered being part of a technician. That's a good point, Biggerback, and I think that what we got to add to that is the lack of referee knowledge. Today, a referee will actually give that fighter more time. As soon as a fighter clinches, that's biding some time. What does most referees do? They run in there and break them apart. They push them apart. That kind of resets everything. It removes the momentum. Maybe the guy that was forced his opponent to clinch him, just lost momentum. I think the lack of good referees are adding to this, and I agree with you about people being considered a good technician. No, a good technician is somebody that can box and spin you around. I tell you the truth, Austin Trout, now that we're talking about Austin Trout, and if you think about Austin Trout's performance against Miguel Cotto, he showed us everything. He showed us a little piece of everything. He was able to stand there toe-to-toe. When he was boxing, he was able to box and land. His jab was pretty stiff. It was pretty snappy. And not only that, but he also demonstrated that he could fight, off his back foot as he was backing up and stuff. And, I thought that was good. I thought that was well-versed, so, yeah. He says, Bigaback goes on to say, most Fight of the Year candidates today are usually between two guys who are easy to hit and lack boxing. An example is Bam Bam Rios and Andre Berto. Back then you would have technicians like Arguello, McCallum, Holyfield, James Toney, Michael Spinks, and Sugar Ray Leonard. They would be an exciting technical masterpieces, all because there was not a single clinch. I hope we have more of those Marquez-type fighters. I hope so too, man. And it's kind of a catch-22 because the entertainment factor. People want to see. Dan the Man Henderson put it in perspective great, and he referred to it as the English, the European fans, and he was talking about the English fans that they on a boxing event. It's an all-day event, it's like Super Bowl for us, They start partying real early in the morning, and, they're drinking all day, eating all day, and then they go to the fights, and they're all tanked up, and, they want to see a couple of guys beat the crap out of each other. They're not so, appreciative of the sweet science. And I think that a lot of fans are going in that direction in terms of entertainment value, and I think the networks are trying to find fighters that do that. They're torn right now. Between the guys who have, the older guys like the you-know-who's and the Manny Pacquiaos and stuff that are very successful in numbers, and they're trying to sprinkle in this next group of fighters that they're hoping is going to, sway new fans to come and watch because of the entertainment value, a la two guys beating the snot out of each other. And if you look at, and I've said this, I think, unless I was dreaming that I said it, I think I said this on the show the other day, it's like MMA. That's why MMA is exciting. It's not the technical, part of MMA, where if you talk to these MMA fighters, they'll tell you all these great ways to get your opponent in a submission hold and all of this stuff to make the fight go short quick and give you an easy win. That's not the exciting part of MMA. I don't want to see two guys leg locked on the ground and then one guy tapping out. I mean, that's not what I want. Well, that's the relative part to the sweet science of boxing. Same thing. There may be the guy in the audience that's an MMA fighter may appreciate those guys leg locked on the canvas, waiting for the submission hold. He saw how it all happened. He saw that fighter A, led his opponent into the trap, so to speak, and now he sees fighter B can't get out. It's like playing chess. You're in checkmate, right? And, so he's interested in that, just like a handful of guys are interested in the science of boxing. But the majority of the drunks in the audience want to see two guys beat the snot out of each other, whether it's MMA or whether it's boxing. It sells the tickets, man. What can I say? But anyway, as far as having more Marquez-type fighters, listen, what we need, Bigaback, is more teachers. Steve Lott and I talk about it all the time in our segment. The trainers today are not teachers. They're rah-rah men. A great example of that is that guy I keep telling you about from New York, that guy Andre Rozier. He's not a good trainer. He's a rah-rah man, He's the only thing I give him credit for is he's calm. He's very calm, I mean, there's so many the guy that used to train Jack Lau, the guy who used to train Kelly Pavlik. You think he's a good trainer? I mean, he's a rah-rah man. He's a juiced up guy himself, probably. I mean, he's definitely a weight. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry, I don't know that. But he pumps iron and stuff. He's jacked up. I mean. That's what I meant. I didn't mean juiced up. I meant jacked up. He's a rah-rah man, yelling and screaming in your face, We need guys that can teach. We need technically sound trainers. That's what you need. EQX says, Manny's full career, I like Manny, but he only had a few shining years since turning pro at 16. Come on, man. Come on. I just can't believe this negativity. I guess it's par for the cause, because that's how cruel sports are. When you're at the top, you're the best. You're on the Wheaties box, for God's sakes, right? And then when you drop off, man, you become the worst. It happens in every single sport. I mentioned Mike Tyson. I'm going to mention Mike Tyson because when Mike Tyson was in his heyday, all right, Mike Tyson was great for the sport of boxing. As a matter of fact, he was so good for the sport of boxing that we haven't been able to compare anyone to him, and we lost a ton of boxing fans when Mike Tyson stopped fighting, okay? And people bought those pay-per-views. They bought those tickets. The same reason they buy it for Manny or for Floyd. Whether they like him or whether they hate him, they're buying the ticket, and that's the key. But check it out. As dominating as Mike Tyson was when he hit the scene and became champion and everything else, and then he gets, goes to the can and all of that stuff. When he came out and he started fighting again, the same people were saying this same kind of stuff. Oh, he's washed up. He's finished. He was never nothing. And all of a sudden they discredit his whole career because he misses out on 3 years in his prime while he's in the can. Never was the same. Lost, split with his trainer that they worked real well with. Lost, not only, he had already lost Customano, but he lost Jim Jacobs, and he was just like a lost soul. And all of a sudden, the same stuff. He was overrated. He was never nothing. He never fought anybody. It was a weak division. You hear it over and over and over. And then 20 years go by. 20 years go by. Now we're where we are now, and people are putting in perspective how good Mike Tyson really was. That he was the last guy that moved his head. He was the last guy that was able to get inside and really work an opponent. It's par for the course. Now Manny's going through it. And it's just frustrating for me because I've seen this over and over and over. Same thing with Ali. Same thing with Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was, people were crying. They didn't want him to fight anymore. After Larry Holmes. And what does he do? He goes and he fights Trevor Berbick and gets destroyed by a guy that when I mentioned Trevor Berbick, what do you think? You think of the the Berbick dance, baby. The Berbick dance when Mike Tyson knocked him out. I'll never forget that. So, it's all the same, man. These guys are in their prime. They make all their money as athletes, every other athletic sport, too. I can tell you, my hero as a kid, Joe Namath, was great. And then he gets injured. He gets hurt. The last games I remember, they traded him, actually, the Jets, and he was playing on the Rams. At the time they were in Los Angeles. And I'll never forget watching a game where he was playing. He couldn't even walk. It was like bringing tears to my eyes to see my idol in that bad a shape, and yet he was still playing. Well, boxing's no different, ladies and gentlemen. It's the same thing. Manny Pacquiao's on a decline. And, you're not going to see Manny Pacquiao the way you did. And to discredit everything that he's gotten to this point, to make an ignorant statement to say that this guy was never anything, he was built up, and it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous statement. I'm sorry. EQX closes. He says the day after Pacquiao and Marquez, he says 50 Cent tweeted, "Who's the fool that lost $100 million last night? Because he would rather trick on hoes than fight." And then he says he's talking about who. I love it, and I tell you the truth, if he really did tweet that, I'd love to get a copy of that. But anyway, those are the mailbags. Thank God they're over. I just can't. I just can't. Fathom that people are discrediting Manny Pacquiao's whole career because of Juan Manuel Marquez, who actually hit him with the perfect punch. And speaking of which, that's in the news right now. Everybody is all over. It was in the New York Times, in the Daily News, it was in the Post in New York today. I'm sure it was in yesterday. I'm sorry, and I'm sure it was in other papers throughout the country. The big talk now is everybody's making the assumption that Juan Manuel Marquez was on the juice, man. They're looking at a strength conditioning coach. Did not do Olympic testing. Yes, he looked big. Yes, he did not get affected by any punches that Manny threw. And yes, he landed a mule-like punch and sent Manny Pacquiao down and out. But there were no Olympic testing. We're innocent until proven guilty. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, until somebody can prove it, I'm looking at it as a great punch. The timing was there. And again, if you look at the two guys, after the fight and you asked me if I didn't see the fight, and you showed me pictures of the two guys, 2 hours after the fight was over, after they showered and stuff, and you asked me who won the fight, I would have never in a million years picked Juan Manuel Marquez. The guy doesn't even look like himself. He looks like somebody beat him up with a baseball bat. So Manny was definitely connecting with him, and he's a tough guy. Both of them are. And a lucky shot, not a lucky shot. It wasn't a lucky shot. I shouldn't have used that term of words, but a perfectly thrown shot that landed on the button. Timing was everything. And, Manny was in the middle of trying to deliver a punch. He was off his feet the way he always does, throws his punches from crazy angles and all that happy stuff. And this time, after 42 rounds, or in the 42nd round, Juan Manuel Marquez connected with the shot he was trying to land from all those other fights ago. So I give him credit. He said that they said that they are testing the drug tests now. That we'll find out the post-test, but they were not testing for Olympic-style testing. However, Marquez said, and I quote, "I feel happy with my training. I feel great about the test." He says, "I don't have a problem." He said, but the speculation is driving me crazy. He says, I'm upset that people don't believe that I developed naturally. He says, after working hard for 4 months in Mexico, if I continue fighting, I will do Olympic-style anti-doping tests with my next fight. I don't see why he has to. I don't. This is a guy that now he's going to do it just to shut everybody up. That's another important factor here that I think everybody is forgetting. And I don't watch those 24/7s or anything, but I did follow along with Marquez's training as much as he would let people. And the one thing I do know is that this guy was training for this fight long before Manny Pacquiao began his training for this fight. And like he says right here, I worked for 4 months preparing for this fight. Usually a fighter will prepare, 4 weeks, 6 weeks is a longer camp. If you hear somebody go 2 months, that's 8 weeks. You're saying, wow, don't overtrain. Marquez trained 4 months, man. He trained 4 months. That's 16 weeks for those of you that don't know that. 16 weeks he was preparing for this fight. So, come on, man. Come on. Now, I know that he could have taken, no. But yes, they are going to be revealing, the Nevada State Athletic Commission will be revealing the tests before December 17th. But all they took was samples from each fighter for the pre and post fight as per the rules of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. That's all they tested for. That's it. So, one other thing I want to make sure I mention before we take a break here and eventually get Alex Papali on the phone. But Lucas Matisse is scheduled to fight Hammer and Hank Lundy. It's taking place on January 19th, and it was announced yesterday. All right, now, for all you guys that are bashing both, Floyd and Manny for cherry picking and everything else, and for all of you that pointed me to the video that Freddie Roach and everything else, are you going to criticize Lucas Matisse for taking Hank Lundy in this fight? Are you going to criticize Golden Boy Promotions for picking Hank Lundy in the Lucas Matisse fight? That's my question. Are you gonna criticize him for this fight? And before you answer the question, just remember, Hammer and Hank Lundy just lost. He just lost to Gabe Rosado, right? So if you don't think that they're cherry picking an opponent for Matisse, the fight that everybody wanted to see was Matisse against Marcos Maidana, right? Wasn't that the fight that we were trying to build up to, an all-Argentine fight and all that stuff? Why are we waiting, man? Are we trying to, as Bob Aaron would say, are we trying to marinate the fight a little more? So don't tell me that just two fighters are cherry-picking their opponents in the sport of boxing when every friggin' one tries to. It's called trying to get an edge. Do I agree with it? No. But it happens. So you can't discredit, the top guys for doing it, and then that next level guy, it's okay for them. And then you can't discredit a whole body of work based on a loss. You can't do it, man. You can't do it. And it's a shame that the young boxing fans of today look at it that way. But anyway, listen, we got to take a break. When we come back, Alex Papali, hopefully, he's going to calm me down.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com and place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Hit Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing Studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. He's Billy C, and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You are watching us on the Fight Now television channel. And if you don't have Fight Now in your sports channel lineup, you need to call your local television provider and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. It's that simple. Pick up the phone and call. For all information about the channel, you can find it on their website, www.fightnow.com. And speaking of now, joining us all the way from Connecticut, my man Alex Papali. What's up, brother?
Morning, Billy C. How you doing?
Oh, I'm just doing great today. I'm just doing great. I'm all jacked up today, man. I'm just getting so sick of the same rhetoric over and over and over. I mean, how can you not give either of those two fighters from Saturday night credit for the, and then to turn around and come back and discredit the whole career? I just think it's absurd.
It is absurd. I think most people are giving them credit, but I think you have a very vocal handful of Floyd Mayweather lovers who contribute to the show. They like to see you get angry, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like you do too. But you know
well, it is. I tell you something. It does make for excitement, but you're absolutely right to get angry because they're crazy. I mean, come on, you could very easily say that was the fight of the year. What he did was, it could very well be the end of the arc of Manny Pacquiao, the whole era, which started when he burst onto the scene, of the American scene at least, on the undercard of Oscar De La Hoya versus Javier Castillejo. He knocked out Leilani Ledwaba. He was a little guy. He had a little sprite of blonde hair, and he had that same explosive style. And, we might have seen the end. It is a big deal.
Yeah, well, listen, all athletes come to that day. Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player ever to put on a pair of sneakers, was pathetic in his, 47 comebacks and all of that. It's relative. It's going to happen.
And I think that's the thing that's important to note is that this is such a great rivalry, and it's possible this isn't the end. As horrific and as scary as it was for a few moments there, Manny is fine. He had a CAT scan and everything. He says he's going to be back. These guys could do this again. I tell you, it's crazy to think. There's people that are saying that this is like the death knell of boxing. There's no way that I would say that. Yes, these guys are getting old. They're not going to be around forever, but they might fight again, and it would be just as thrilling, if not more so. At least the anticipation. Who knows what it's going to be when they get in there? But come on, this was amazing. It could be the end because it was that startling of a knockout. Look at what Manny did to Ricky Hatton. That kind of did ruin him. He fought twice more, but we think it's over. Who knows?
Well, I tell you, it was kind of funny because Bob Arum said, this is it. This fight's going to end in a knockout. We're going to put an end to this matchup once and for all. But really what he meant to say was, when Manny knocks out Juan Manuel Marquez, it's going to put an end to this once and for all. Because now, he said yesterday, Manny Pacquiao versus Juan Manuel Marquez, number 5, was a bigger fight than Pacquiao against Mayweather. Everybody wants to see it. I talked to Scotty Krause the other night, and he was saying there has to be a 5th fight. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This was a definitive ending. This was there doesn't have to be a 5th fight. But I could see them fighting a 5th time because the truth of the matter is, and Alex has to call us back here, but the truth of the matter is that it's the same thing that everybody is okay with from who. If Floyd Mayweather cherry picks an opponent, that's good for him, and he's going to make all his money and everything else. And he cherry picks an opponent, or I don't even want to use the word cherry pick. We got Alex back, but I'm just saying, Alex, the truth of the matter is a 5th fight isn't that bad of an idea because we know we're going to get a thrilling fight. These guys are at the end of the career. Who else can they make this kind of money fighting if they don't fight each other? And there's nothing wrong with it. It's still exciting. If Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward fought a 4th and a 5th and a 6th time, we would have gotten the same thing we got the first 3 times.
I think I would agree with Scotty Krause. I think that I definitely want to see a 5th fight. If neither one of them is going to retire, I definitely want to see them again. And I think see them fight again. And I think the question of PEDs, the whole specter of that, almost reinforces the idea that we need to see it again. And I'm glad to hear what you said earlier, that that Marquez would be willing to submit to, did he say the WADA or did he say VADA?
He didn't say.
He just said Olympic
yes,
style.
Yes.
We know that's part of the problem. This is a complex thing. This is probably the most important story of the year. And if people didn't think it was before this, there's just no way you can watch that knockout and not ask the question. These guys they knew each other. They hit each other in the head so many times. Why? It's not logical that here, so much bigger, 21 pounds heavier than when they first met, Marquez can do what he never did before. That just doesn't stand to reason. Now, granted, I do not want to take away the fact that he trained his ass off, like you said, but he's 39. These guys, each one of them has these strength and conditioning coaches, and we know that Marquez has had, his own, checkered past. But we don't know what these guys can do, because Pacquiao has his own. And remember, there was questions about that before the Margarito fight and even before the Clottey fight. I think these are important things that we need to ask, and it does add into the drama leading up to a fifth and almost necessary fifth fight.
Listen, what it's going to boil down to, I don't know anything about PEDs. I don't, and I'm glad I don't, and I'm not like you. I'm not even trying to, because it's so complicated, and the bottom line is the nature of how they manufacture these things is now it seems if you have the guy, the better, it's almost like a cut man. The guy that has a really good cut man in the corner, he can survive a bad cut, and if two fighters have a cut and the better cut man's fighter wins, I mean, you got the better cut man. Well, it's almost the same thing now with these strength and conditioning guys. If you have a guy that can beat the system and make you better, and you test positive, or you choose the testing facility that that what your tolerance is within, that won't be reported, then all better for you. And doesn't that, in a sense, now I'm not suggesting 1 minute, because I hate cheaters, all right? I hate cheaters, right? Unless you're playing me and we're playing Monopoly, then that's a different story. But, the bottom line is this. If they both weren't tested, isn't there a chance that they both were doing something?
Absolutely. And I think that's where the questions come in. Because I think, this is what the Gabriel Montoya piece, he's really the reporter that's covering this. He is his articles are essential to understanding this story, which is definitely the story of the year. Marquez proved it. There's no way not to ask it. And I mean, Bill, we always talk about, you rib me about my thoughts on the mainstream fan, but we owe it because we love this sport. This is different than McGuire and Sosa and Bonds. But the same kind of questions are asked when you see a guy. Look at some of the photos and look at the torso of Marquez. There's no question he's in a different body. Because it was on such a massive stage, these are important things we have to get to the bottom of. I think that what we talked about in the post-fight show is absolutely correct. The reason why Marquez landed that punch is because he's an incredible fighter. The fact that punch seemed harder than it's ever been, and they've hit each other so many times, that's where the question comes in. And you're right, we don't know what these strength guys can do. This weekend we're going to see another example, and we're seeing this Memo Heredia guy is in the corner of Arce. So we're going to see another version of chemical warfare. This time we're having the VADA fighter in Nonito Donaire, that's the real clean group who's the one who caught everybody, who caught Berto and caught Lamont Peterson. So this weekend we're going to see another example of this PED story. So, I mean, it's not going to go away. And I think we owe it to sports in general to be more responsible, because let's face it, this isn't a bike ride. This isn't a race. These people are hitting each other in the head.
Let me ask you something. This is hypothetical. If they had if they were able to all do it and end up and every time we watched a fight and we got a performance like we got Saturday, would people all of a sudden say, maybe PEDs aren't bad for boxing?
Well, no. Well, I think that's the same thing. I would hope they would, because I think the result would be horrific. Because eventually what's going to happen? Manny was out for 2 minutes. You're going to have somebody who's out for a lot longer than that. This is not hitting a ball over a wall. That's why these are very important questions that need to be asked.
Well, the big issue, though, Alex, is that if one guy is doing something illegal and the other guy isn't, well, now the playing field isn't even. But if both guys were allowed to take something, let's say, that evens the playing field. So, I mean, it seems relative.
Now, that's the case here, is that going into this fight, they were, from what it seemed like, they were even. Because Alex Ariza was, the strength and conditioning coach for Pacquiao. However, there was an interview I saw where he seemed a little miffed that Roach decided to stress boxing in this camp rather than strength and conditioning. So maybe that's what he's going to blame. I'm sure they're both, all of Team Pacquiao is Monday morning quarterbacking what happened. But one thing to remember is they were winning. And even though Marquez was still holding up, like you said, he was under fire, and he was getting pelted in that 6th round when he landed that shot.
Yeah, there's no question. And like I said, look at his face. He didn't even look like him.
That's why it was a great fight. I mean, you know, we've had some great fights this year, but the thing that makes this one so much better is the level of both guys. These are like top 3 or 4 pound-for-pound guys in the sport.
Well, what I appreciate, and what a lot of these fans don't get, and I'm afraid that the youths of boxing, the youth of boxing fans, as it becomes this attitude, it's just going to get worse and worse. You know, they look at this and they can't appreciate the fact that Manny comes back. Let's just say Manny Pacquiao comes back from a devastating knockout loss like this and fights again and wins. They're going to kind of hold that knockout loss against him, sort of like the anti-Manny Pacquiao fans hold the fact that he had losses to begin with against them, you know, and to me, it's the complete opposite. It shows me a fighter that rights the ship, that comes back and corrects a wrong, and that is what's exciting. It all of a sudden, there's added drive. You know, hey, who knows? The guy mentally that was really up for this fight more than the other one was Juan Manuel Marquez. He had more to prove. He was the one that ended up on the losing end more than not. And Manny could have been taking this fight a little lightly. Yeah, maybe he was training hard and everything else, but maybe in the back of his mind, he says, I got this guy's number. I beat him, 2 out of 3 times before. I should have won the 3rd one in his mind. I'm going to beat him in this one. And all of a sudden it happens, what happens took place. And then maybe Manny now is like, oh, no, now I'm going to really train for him. You know what I mean? That's what a fighter's mentality, I think that's what the fighters I think of think like.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's, as amazing as it is to imagine, because these guys have already created new superlatives in this war they've had with each other. There's more to come, because you're right. If Manny can come back from that, oh my God, that would be just incredible. But yeah, I'd love to see it. As much as, I got to admit, maybe if you play back the post-fight show, I think I was saying that I wanted them both to retire, and it was brutal. But I tell you, if Manny continues, I don't see anyone else in his view than Juan Manuel Marquez. And you're right. I think, anyone who holds that against him, if he's able to come back from that loss, anyone who holds the loss against him is, come on. That's loony.
Listen, Juan Manuel Marquez said it best in an interview. He said, I landed the perfect punch, but Manny could have knocked me out at any time in that fight. His punches hurt me all night long. He said, I knew that this fight was going to end in a knockout. Either I was going to get knocked out or Manny was going to get knocked out. And it worked out Saturday night that Juan Manuel Marquez knocked out Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao was fighting the same way, Alex. He was fighting saying, absolutely, I need to knock this guy out. I'm going to risk getting knocked out to knock him out. And it didn't work out for Manny. I respect that. To me, that's a fighter. I don't respect a guy that runs and even though you could argue and say that's the sweet science, he put on a boxing display and everything, I don't appreciate it. It's not fun for me. And with that said, I just want to ask you your opinion. It looks like who is going to fight Saul Alvarez. It looks like he's choosing Saul Alvarez. And again, like I said earlier in the show, to me, that's an easier opponent for him, but he gets to brag that he's fighting a young guy, an undefeated guy, a guy that's bigger than him, all those things that people want to see, but yet he's picking a guy that clearly doesn't have the stability mentally, and doesn't have the arsenal. He's a one-dimensional fighter, in my opinion. Not that he's a bad fighter. I like him, but he's not ready for Floyd. I think a tougher opponent for Floyd is actually Robert "The Ghost" Guerrero. As much as I laughed at that a year and a half ago, I don't feel that way now.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think, again, it just shows you what a child Floyd is, or at least, this guy, his ego is so massive, he can't let someone else in the sport, or especially if his name's Manny Pacquiao, have the spotlight for long. Because he made that announcement, I think it was on Saturday afternoon or Friday night, something like that. And, it was the Marquez Pacquiao weekend. It wasn't the Floyd Mayweather weekend. But, of course, he's got to inject himself into things. But, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all for him to take Alvarez first on May 5th rather than Guerrero first, because Floyd likes the path of least resistance. He always chooses that. But I think that, I would agree with you. I do think just heart alone, and you're right, I think just the completeness, we've already seen it. He's been tested a little more in Guerrero than we have seen from Alvarez. I think maybe down the road, Alvarez might be something exciting, but you're right, he's still a work in progress, and if he was to fight Floyd in May, I think he loses a decision pretty easily.
Yeah, and then he's got nothing to lose because he says, I'm not ready. I fought the best, blah, 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 and it actually helps him. But Floyd, when he picks his opponents, he looks right now at their mental state, and I mean mental. There's obviously two forms of a mental state for boxing. Number one, the pre-boxing mental state. The build up, the stare down, the PR stuff. All those press conferences, all the BS that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Some fighters lose it, and they lose focus, and they want to kill the guy. Mayweather's able to bring that out, and that's a form of weakness, a weak mental state. So he looks at fighters that he thinks he can get under their skin. Then the other part of the mental state is during the fight. Can you break a fighter down? Can you get him out of his game plan? Can you hit him a couple of times, maybe, stray below the belt or whatever? And does this guy lose his composure? Again, you look at Robert "The Ghost" Guerrero, and I say no to either one of these. The guy has proven that he doesn't lose his composure, that he stays within his game plan. He has the ability to change a game plan. He's conditioned well. And then you get to the physical end, styles. How do I match up? When Floyd looks at what Robert "The Ghost" Guerrero, he's going to see a guy that, you can go back and watch his fights, and you've seen a different style multiple times. Sometimes he boxes, sometimes he mauls you. What he did against Berto was exactly what Cotto did against Mayweather, except Guerrero was smarter. He broke down the body and stuff, and then later on worked the top. And I think Mayweather's going to add all of this up and say, the Ghost is too dangerous. But Saul Alvarez, he stands in front of you. He's technically sound. Mayweather's going to be able to anticipate where those punches are coming from. Mayweather's going to be able to control that fight, and that's what he looks for. He wants a controlling, he wants to be the guy controlling it, but before the fight and during the fight. And I think that all of those tangibles point to Saul Alvarez.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and then the Mayweather people are going to say, whoa. What do you mean? We fought a bigger guy. We fought a young guy. We fought an undefeated guy. What else do you want? Huh?
He's Cinnamon.
Yeah, he's Cinnamon. He's Cinnamon. We fought him on his day, even though we call it Cinco de Mayweather now. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah,
anyway.
I think you're right. I mean, I think that the Guerrero fight is much more interesting to see what would happen against Floyd. But, to me, if the name Guerrero, even that's a consolation. I think Floyd wins that fight, but I think it's a little more intriguing. The only fight that I think is worth seeing Mayweather is Martinez. Otherwise, I don't care about seeing any Mayweather fights. To me, it's Marquez and Pacquiao. I mean, I think that's the thing that was so. What we said last week was so true about how we wondered, were we going to see the Ali Frazier of this? And I think that's what's so different, makes them so different than Floyd. Yeah, neither one of them. There is no slickster in this matchup. Not that Floyd really is a slickster, but if you want great, crafty, counterpunching, beautiful boxing skill, look at Marquez. I mean, versus the exciting style of Manny Pacquiao. He really rediscovered himself. He looked as good as he hasn't looked as good as he did this week since the Margarito fight. I mean, he looked that good. He was bobbing and weaving. He was moving his head. This was a great fight, and I think that's the thing that the Mayweather fans are upset about, and that's why they need to keep talking about him, is that their guy isn't in fights like this.
He's not.
I mean, even when he does score an awesome knockout,
there's something added to it.
Sucker punch.
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that they feel bad about. A lot of when you protect yourself the way he has and are very cautious, and I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, about how he's sort of something new, and Roy Jones really set the model of this, where there's a lot of care put into choosing every single fight. And I don't know, when he was younger, that wasn't the case. But the last couple of years, that is the case. Every fight's an event, and every fight, it's stacked in his favor. He doesn't risk. He's not a Marquez. He's not a Pacquiao. He's not a Morales. He's very different.
I agree. And I personally hope he doesn't fight, because I can't stand hearing the bragging over something that shouldn't be bragging. And I agree with you about Martinez, that it's actually become a joke that Martinez's name is the only one that's omitted from all of these discussions. Now, I've always said, and you and I disagreed with this, but I've always said that I didn't believe that Manny should have to fight Sergio because of the size. Manny's a smaller guy. I don't care that he weighed 147 and Marquez weighed 143. He's a smaller guy than you-know-who. But you-know-who could easily fight Sergio Martinez. And quite honestly, as much as I do like Sergio Martinez, I don't think Sergio is unbeatable. I think if Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fought the way he fought in the 12th round in that fight doesn't even get out of the 6th or 7th round. So it's not like he's unbeatable. And
that's what makes him a fun fighter to watch too. He's a gladiator. He risks. He gets bloody noses. He gets bruised. But he's in there, and you're right. Look at that last round against Julio Cesar Chavez. Even when he was so hurt, he kept slugging. Mayweather would never do that. I mean, come on.
Well, the thing about Mayweather that I know I've been criticized about it, but I still feel strongly about it. I don't believe that Mayweather could handle some kind of adversity during a fight. People have said, "Oh, well, he was cut back in such and such." No, I'm talking about today's Floyd Mayweather.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the Ortiz fight did answer that for me, though.
What?
He did handle it.
I didn't like the way he handled it. That wasn't handling it. You're talking about, the headbutt. Listen, Ortiz should have been disqualified right then. I don't approve of anybody intentionally headbutting.
Yeah, but he didn't, Bill. He wasn't disqualified.
I know, but that doesn't justify
to me, that answers the question. How's he going to handle adversity? That's how he handles it.
Well, I don't like that. That's not a.
Well, it wasn't pretty, but he handled it.
I still don't think you referred to it moments ago as a legal sucker punch. It was.
Right. But still, this is boxing. This isn't croquet.
No, okay, but I'm talking about. Let me elaborate. Okay, not that. Let's see. I want to see Floyd recover from a knockdown. I want to see Floyd have a serious cut where they're going to him in the corner and they're saying, "Listen, man, that's a bad cut. You got one more round before we stop."
Right. Yeah, we have never seen that.
I want to see that. I want to see what happens when he gets dropped in a round, if he does, and he has to go back to his corner, and they have to get him prepared within 60 seconds to go out for the next round. I want to see that corner giving him instruction. I anticipate a Andre Berto-esque corner from Floyd Mayweather, and that is something we've never gotten to see. Now, on the other hand, we got to give him credit for never getting to see that. I got to give him credit for never.
I think that's what his fans would say.
Okay,
he's
and
so much better. He's never let someone do that.
Okay, that is a justifiable statement. But to that first part of it, he's that much better. Well, now you get to look at the opponents. Well, wait a minute. If you're picking out your opponent, and you know this guy can't throw a hook, or if you know this guy can't do this or the other thing, then what challenge do you have? Again, I'm going to refer to Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez. Not that I think that they're better than Floyd or anything like that, but both of these guys knew that the other one was risky for them. I mean, they could have easily said, "Nah, you know what? I can make the money fighting somebody else. I'll take a less risky fight," and they didn't. And it bothers me that the diehard, I'm going to refer to it as the diehard Manny Pacquiao haters won't give him any credit for that fight, for fighting that fight, let alone, talking this nonsense that he was exposed. After all these years, after championships in 8 weight classes, after all the excitement, after that knockout loss, he's exposed? Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous to say he was exposed. The question is he finished? That question could be asked. But no, you can't expose a guy like that with his record. I mean, come on.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff. But,
I could see if he was undefeated, then you would say, oh, well, maybe he's been exposed or something. But no, we know he's been battle tested.
Listen,
a fight that's like doesn't give credit to the enormity of the. I mean, this blew people away. I really can't remember a time I'm so looking forward to the replay.
How good?
I didn't record it on my Comcast. I use the TiVo, so I when I get a pay-per-view, I can't record them.
Uh-huh.
So I haven't seen it again. I watched it once on one of those websites. But it's not like watching on the big screen. So I'm so looking forward to the replay.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, how good was that fight, and how good was the climax? The climax and the ending and stuff. I'll tell you how good it was. Everybody's talking about how great the card was. They're all forgetting how piss poor the rest of the card was. I drank a pot of. I have to thank Top Rank. We did the post-fight show here on Fight Now. I normally get up every day, how early, and even on the weekends I get up that early because I'm programmed for that. And I drank a pot of coffee, trying to stay awake during that undercard. I stay awake, and then I get the ending of that. We do the post-fight show, and I'm walking around at 3:00 in the morning like I just woke up. I'm like, what the hell? I didn't even sleep. But
well,
yeah.
I tell you, it's fascinating because almost every boxing. If people, if there's any listeners out there who've never gone to a whole boxing card live, they really got to, because there's something about a live event. It's awesome, and it really, when you're there for the whole card, from the first bout to the last, the whole thing has it's like a story is told to you. And the Romneys, Mitt and Ann there,
oh man,
front row.
What a seat they had!
They were getting a really boring story, and then to think what they got, they must have. And they don't drink, so there's not. That was a night out, man. They really saw something.
Did you see the look on Mitt's face? Because the knockout came right in front of him. It was right in front of him.
Manny's crumpled form was. Within 60 inches of that.
I know, and the look on his face was priceless. I mean, to me, that was. As a matter of fact, I saw a still shot. One of the photographers had a still shot, and it was, you could see, the eyes bugging out of Mitt Romney, as Manny's just crumpled right in front of him, But yeah,
when people say boxing's dead, come on, look at
it's
that.
Not,
granted, there's. I got my own feelings about Mitt Romney.
No, I know.
But
we don't
he is what he is. This guy who was the would-be American emperor, and there he is, front row. So this is still a sport where when the best fight the best, kings and queens come to ringside.
Hey.
And you can't say that about other sports.
Hey, when you see Mike Tyson and Magic Johnson jumping up like schoolgirls cheering when they see in a fight like that, it's exciting, And I just I've been doing like this a column, and I did one on promoters, and statistically, I've done some research, and statistically in over the last 10 years, 10 years ago we were in a decline, but if you look now, boxing's, definitely in a resurgence, but the sad part about it is it's resurging really only for two promoters. Everybody else is creating the other guy, and that's the only piece of the puzzle we need to fix. The other parts are unfixable. The infusion of all these sanctioning bodies and all that, you're not going to fix that because you're not going to get them out. They're not going to bow out of a cash cow without a fight. You know what I mean? So that part is going to be very hard to fix. But what you can fix is the competition, is the fighters actually fighting each other and promoters actually promoting and all of that. That can be fixed, and it may be on its way.
That's right.
Hey, listen, we got to talk about. We didn't even take our break here. Sorry about that for right now, but let's talk. We got a blast from the past. We're doing one on Young Corbett. Now, Young Corbett, let me rephrase that. Young Corbett, numero tres, number 3. There was several Young Corbett, I guess more than several, right? But the most popular Young Corbett's were Young Corbett 2 and 3, both Hall of Famers. I gave you an assignment, Alex Papali. I wanted to know, you failed me already. The last assignment I asked you to do was I asked you to find out why we can't get eggnog outside of the holidays, and you've yet to give me the true answer why. A lot of people have given me recipes, and they said, don't worry, make your own and everything, and I'll turn into an alcoholic with all these recipes that people have given me. So that's still a mystery to me why we can't get eggnog all year round. But now I want to know, why the hell did so many fighters, and there's got to be 100 of them, that went by the name of Young Corbett? Who were they trying to emulate? Were they emulating James Corbett? I mean, tell me.
I think so. But in terms of a definitive answer, I don't have one for you. But I believe that's the case. And the closest thing I got to, I'll start the blast and I'll get to it in a second because it's right when he wins his first title. It's the first time I have the closest thing for an answer for you.
All right.
Yes, Young Corbett 3. His name was actually Raffaele Capobianco Giordano.
I love this guy. I love him already. He's one of my favorites.
And he was born May 27th, 1905, in Potenza, Italia. But he fought out of Fresno, California.
Interesting thing. I think he only fought a handful of times outside of the state of California. So fighters were doing that same stuff back in those days too.
Yeah, regional boxing. It seemed like a lot of San Francisco fights, but I think that probably is not too far from Fresno. He was a sturdy, swift-punching southpaw, and he was a quiet, young Italian man. He had 3 victories over young Jack Thompson, who was a black fighter of the era. Young Corbett 3 was a welterweight. And then he moved up to middle. And young Jack Thompson, he fought at welterweight, and he fought him 3 times. Each time he won. And I tell you something, that fight, the description of the fight, was one of the best articles I have read in all the blasts that I've done. And, boy, I tell you, there's a lot of these fights where you read about them and you think, man, I wish you could have gotten, a little... go back in time with an iPhone camera or something,
Yeah.
But that one really sounded like a hell of a fight. But he ends up winning the title against a welterweight named Jackie Fields. And when he beat him, that was when they made the comment, the magic name of Corbett, written as before with a firm left hand, is enscrolled again among the immortals of fistic history. And I think that's what that was the deal. Wasn't James Corbett? He was a southpaw, a lefty, if I remember correctly, and or maybe I'm wrong about that. or maybe the young Corbett 2 was.
Yeah, I don't think James Corbett was, but he was one of the first guys to use the science. Well, yeah, it was the science was coming out. Right? He used his jab to set up punches, and it was coming from that rough and tumble bare knuckle era into the beginning of the evolution of what we have today. But I just was so curious of why so many chose that name, and obviously all of them weren't successful. But you pick a name. I mean, after a while, after there's a million people, you gotta.
Well, that's what they would do, though. It was like, for some reason, it's very different today because everybody wants to be an individual today. But it was like an honor, because even that's why I mentioned that young Jack Thompson. I'm pretty sure he was named in honor of a black heavyweight from years before. I think that's what they would do. If you were good, sometimes you would take on the name of a previous fighter who was good.
Yeah, no. I mean, whatever he did, I just found it amazing, and I think the Hall of Fame voters decided that they couldn't distinguish young Corbett 2 and young Corbett 3 from each other, so they put them both in, But he also fought. He started his career as a bantamweight, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, he started. Well, I got 137, but it did seem like he fought some bantamweights. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the earliest one that I saw was 122. So, but then he went up. He won a world title, and I believe at least one of those Jackie Fields fights you can watch. There's I actually watched it on YouTube, so they do have some.
There's a little footage of him.
Yeah. So you could punch that one up. But he won that world title, lost it to Jimmy McLaren in 1933, and then pretty much campaigned as a middleweight. And again, if you go by who he's fought, and it's such an anti of today, these guys seeked out the best fighters of their era, and then fought them like we're talking 5 times for Marquez. I mean, to fight each other 3, 4, 5 times was not a big deal back then.
Right, and not only that, but like you were asking, James Corbett was Orthodox. My bad, he was not a southpaw.
Right.
I wanted to check that. Yeah, like you were saying before about whether or not people will hold that, whether Manny Pacquiao could come back from this, or whether people will hold it against him. Think about this guy, young Corbett 3, lost to McLaren, and he got flattened in a round. But then he came back, and like you said, he had multiple fights with greats like Fred Apostoli, Billy Conn. I mean, there's a lot of great fighters. Lou Briard. This guy fought a lot of Hall of Famers.
Yeah, Mickey Walker. He even fought Gus Levinovich, who was a tough guy. The Fred Ospitali fight that his last shot at a world title in 1938. If you look at the remaining fights, they weren't exactly slugs. I mean, his last professional fight was against a guy that had 24 wins and only 2 losses. With 9 draws. So how good? That was a decent fighter. Amazing stuff. I thought that it was kind of strange, especially back in his era, that he predominantly fought locally, in the state of California, with the exception of, I believe, 4 fights. And when you look at his career that started in 1919 and went all the way up through 1940, to only fight outside of his home state, a handful of times, that's amazing to me.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. You're right. San Francisco, Fresno, Pittsburgh. It won Pittsburgh with Billy Conn.
Right, he had to go there.
New York. But you're right. I mean, otherwise, there was one New York, Sammy Baker, but yeah, not too many.
Yeah, no, I think there was only 4.
3.
Yeah, there was a couple of New York ones, So, but anyway, this guy was a pretty good fighter. He was able to come in there and do pretty much everything. He wasn't really known that much for his jab, though, but he was able to throw punches in bunches, as they used to say with Mike Tyson. But being a southpaw in his era wasn't that common, though. So I thought it was pretty pretty strange, really, that he had so many fights as a southpaw. I would have thought that people would have avoided him.
Yeah, he certainly didn't. I think he liked to mix it up because a lot of these were pretty. The descriptions are really good fights. I mean, with so many of these fighters, I like to find an article where they talk about, some element about him, maybe some story or whatever. With this guy, it's just a lot of good scraps. I didn't really find too many interesting things. He did have 2 children, a boy and a girl, and he was married. His wife, her name was Gladys Giordano, and I think he did pretty well in terms of financially, and he held on to his money, because they did talk about like some real estate and stuff like that, and he died at an old age. He lived to 88.
Yeah, well, after boxing, I found it kind of interesting that his job, he did make some investments, and you're right, real estate was one of them. He actually became a vineyard. He owned a vineyard. He grew grapes for wine. But what he did,
and they mentioned that a few times where they would say he was from raisin country. And I wondered, what did they mean? And I was like, oh, that's like a grape joke.
But check this out. A job that he actually got hired by the state of California. He was an official physical education teacher for the California Highway Patrol.
Oh, wow.
So I never heard that when I was doing my stuff on this guy. I don't think I've ever heard of a job where there was a person that was actually hired to keep coppers in good shape. I guess who knows, but that's amazing to me that he ended up actually having a full career as a California State physical education teacher for the patrol.
Wow, he was the Memo Heredia of the Chips.
Yeah, exactly. I was when I think of California
police.
Right, when I think of California Highway Patrol, that's the first thing that pops in my mind is Chips. I'm like, God, come on, man. But anyway, Young Corbett 3. Was a great fighter. Was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 2004. Fought from bantamweight to middleweight. Former world welterweight and middleweight champion. Check out this record: 122 wins, 32 come by knockout, 12 losses, only stopped 4 times. And when you see 22 draws, you know that this guy was in a lot of fights in somebody's hometown, even though he fought most of his career in his home state. But you never know. You're right, lived to 88 years old. 1,071 rounds as a pro with a 21% knockout ratio. I found it interesting, too, that his weight never really fluctuated that much throughout his whole career. When he finally went into the welterweight division, always fought at welter, and as soon as his last fight, that last welterweight fight against Jackie Fields, from that point on, he pretty much was a legitimate middleweight. The most he ever weighed in his whole career was 163 pounds, which is amazing. So you got to give these guys credit in terms of conditioning. So Young Corbett, our blast from the Young Corbett 3, our blast from the past today. Great job with that.
God, I just that's such a difficult name. It just wouldn't work today, I don't think.
What, the 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Young Corbett the 3rd.
Well,
I mean, maybe they would. I mean, we got Meta World Peace.
Well, now
there's a lot of weird names out there today.
They might have called him Young Giordano Corbett. They would have thrown in a couple of more names in there. But anyway, hey, a couple of more things I might as well throw at you with the Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez fight. At the time of the stoppage, my scorecard, I had 48-45 in favor of Manny Pacquiao. I had him up by 3 points going into that 6th round, and in that 5th round, that was probably Manny's best round. He really had Juan Manuel Marquez in some serious trouble, and
Absolutely. That's probably going to be round of the year. I think it probably should be.
And then he picked up right where he left off in round 6. That was Manny's round up until that last. Those last 3 seconds, man.
That's what makes this just so awesome, man. Yeah, I can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah,
like I said, I watched it on a stream on Sunday afternoon, and I watched it on my laptop and on a little 13-inch screen. It's not the same.
No.
So I'm really looking forward to Saturday night. They're going to replay it.
Alex, a couple of quick questions. We're running out of time, but number one, last week also, aside from that, we had Bryant Jennings fought in the heavyweight division. He's a young heavyweight out of Philly. He fought Bowie Tutupu. I love this kid Jennings. I'm just fearful that he's a little too small, but he's exciting. We need to talk more about this guy. What's your thoughts about the win, and where do you think he's going to go in the heavyweight division?
I don't know. I don't know how far he'll go. I'm looking forward to following along, though. I thought it was a great win. I thought it was that's what you like to see heavyweights do, and the combination that he finished him off with was great. I mean, he had some great body shots. They kept talking about the uppercut, but it was the whole combination, because he got him, to sort of relax. Well, not relax, but sort of, it was almost like he was, falling forward a little from those two hard body shots, and then he went up with the uppercut. That was an impressive knockout. You like to see heavyweights do that. I like Bryant Jennings.
Yeah, and I tell you, Tupu is a good fighter. I mean, he's a good test. He's a strong guy. He looked like he could break Bryant Jennings in half.
And he came in shape. It wasn't like he just was waltzing through that. He was there to try to win.
I thought he was kind of going with that new Alfredo Angulo look. I mean, they look like the Geico caveman, those guys. But hey, a couple of big fights this weekend. My man Jorge Arce is stepping in with your man Nonito Donaire. I don't like this fight. I don't like it because I think that Nonito Donaire is just. I think he's too big for Arce, and I think he's too talented for Arce. I was shocked that they made this fight, but with that said, does Arce have a chance?
I don't think much of one, but I think it's going to be fun while it lasts. And I think that, like we were saying earlier, I think the chemical warfare issue of this one is going to be interesting, or the non-chemical warfare. Well, see, it is chemical warfare, though, because, that's the thing about boxing, is that we've had this for a while, because think even back to the Michael Spinks days and Evander Holyfield. Spinks had Mackie Shilstone, that fitness guru that made him bigger. Tim Hallmark was the guy who did it for Evander Holyfield. So it's not uncommon to have these guys to make these fighters bigger. But I think today, in the 21st century, we know that they have these concoctions that they're able to make, some legal, some not legal, some that will show up on tests, some that won't. And does it affect our sport? Well, this week we had, in the premier event of the year, we have a question mark about it. And is it as big of a deal as the Barry Bonds, asterisk in the Hall of Fame? I'm not quite sure it's quite as big, but I wonder. It sure looks suspicious. And this week, I don't think we're going to have as much of a big deal about that, because Arce is way too old. But I think that, and like you said, I think Donaire is just more talented.
Yeah, Coach has just made a point that I was going to say, and I want to give him kudos for thinking along the same lines, because Evander Holyfield was the first guy to incorporate new technology and training methods in terms of gym equipment, using a different form. Like the old chopping of the tree and running up and down hills in army boots and stuff was the way that fighters used to train prior to Evander Holyfield. He started the movement towards, working out with the weights and different types of exercises for different parts of the body. And I remember seeing an extensive show on that, and I'm assuming that it was all muscle and no chemical. One last quick question, I got to go. Amir Khan against Carlos Molina. It's the return of Amir Khan. He's once again, I give Amir Khan credit for not picking really a layup opponent. Carlos Molina is not an easy guy. It's a guy that Amir Khan should win against, but it's not exactly an easy opponent. What's your thoughts real quick? Who's going to win that one?
I like Amir Khan to win that. I like Carlos Molina. He's not the most exciting guy to watch, but I enjoy his style. It is what it is, as they say. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how Khan rebounds from the loss. I do like him to win.
Sounds good, my man. Hey, thanks for sticking around with us a little extra today, and I appreciate your insights and all that stuff, and of course the blast from the past. Great job as usual.
All right, take care, Billy C.
All right, that's Alex Papali doing his thing, and I wanted to just make sure that you guys knew some other things real quick. A guy, I touched on a little bit earlier about Bob Arum and his statement about the possibility of a Marquez Pacquiao number 5 fight, and I got to be honest when I say that at first even the 4th fight was I thought was too much, but as it turned out, it was an exciting fight, and I think at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. I mean, are you getting entertained for your $60, $70, $80, whatever you're paying for the pay-per-view? Are you being entertained? And I think, at the end of the day, if you can answer yes to that, it's worth it, and with that said, then I guess I do support a 5th fight if the two fighters wanted it, and the promoter was able to pay these guys what they should get paid to fight again. And on the opposite side of the coin, why should we have to pay for fights that are not entertaining or that are not, wondering who's going to win? I mean, keep this in the back of your mind. If they announce that Juan Manuel Marquez and Manny Pacquiao are going to fight again, if they announce that fight, how many people are going to say, oh, well, I think so-and-so is going to win? I think there's going to be a huge question mark of who's going to win a 5th fight. And I think that adds to the intrigue. There's nothing worse than looking at a matchup on paper and saying to yourself, I know who's going to win that fight, and then yet still have to pay for it. And that's what I think we get much too often with you-know-who.
Wake up. It's time for the It's Too Early for a Trivia Question.
Alrighty then. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question. Question is being brought to us by Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn, New York. That's right. Give them a call today, 718-797-2872. That's 718-797-2872, Gleason's Gym. You can also get to their website by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click one of the Gleason's Gym banners. You can't miss them; they're all over the screen. And also, there's at the bottom of the front page is a schedule of what's going on at Gleason. So check that out. A lot of good happenings there. And don't forget, they have the new gym in Manhattan. They have an annex in Manhattan. It's not just a gym. It's a way of life. It's a lifestyle. So check out Gleason's Gym. Tell them Billy C sent you, and find out all the information about the new location in Manhattan. So now you got Manhattan and Brooklyn, New York for Gleason's Gym. So check it out, 718-797-2872. All right. Our trivia question, what's on the line today, is a copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. If you're interested in learning more about that, again, go to the website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the left-hand side. You'll see a banner that says Title Bout. Just click it, and it'll give you all the info about the game. It's a good game. It's worth about $40. It's a simulation game. It's not exactly a video-oriented game where you can see great graphics and all that stuff. But what it does let you do is create matchups like maybe Manny Pacquiao against you-know-who, and see what the computer thinks, see how the computer thinks it would come out. So all of that can be yours if you get this question right. The question is, what world title holder had the shortest career in the 20th century? What former world title holder had the shortest career in the 20th century? Now, we had several answers emailed to us, but none were correct. So if you know this answer, you got to email it, Billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. Who was the what former world title holder had the shortest career over the 20th century? Email me, Billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. And of course, our trivia questions are being provided to us now by the guy we couldn't beat, and that's Henry Hascup. So I want to thank him for giving us the trivia question. So if you know what former world champion had the shortest career in the 20th century, email me, Billy at TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That is Campanaro and Tomkovich. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099. Let Campanaro and Tomkovich knock out your legal problem. And by the way, when you call them, tell them Billy C sent you and that I'm going to pick up the consultation fee. That's right. On this day, December 12th in 1998, ferocious Fernando Vargas knocks out Yuri Boy Campos in the 7th round to win the IBF World Junior Middleweight title, and that took place on this day, December 12th in 1998, in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. Do yourself a favor. Do me a favor. Go cast your vote. You got the latest poll question up on BillyCBoxing.com, so vote there. Check out my new column this week. We got the article about the promoters that don't promote. So check that out. Let us know what you think, and drop us an email. Let your thoughts be heard right here on the show. And oh yeah, I got one more thing to say. You know what it is? Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel. There's only one channel. That's a Fight Now channel. Call your local television provider and tell them you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. It's that simple. Pick up the phone and call. For all the information about the channel, you can find it on their website, www.fightnow.com. See you all tomorrow. Ciao, baby.